All right. Whew. Back in this thing. Back in this thing. Another adventure of the day. So let's see. Where am I? In my daily read. Let's see what this brings up. What's today? 17th? These powers can't come cheaply. That's the title. To create a meaningful work of art or to make a discovery or an event requires great discipline, self-control, and emotional stability. It requires the mastering of forms in your field. Drugs and madness only destroy such powers. Do not fall for the romantic myths and cliches that abound in culture about creativity, offering us the excuse or panacea that such powers can come cheaply. When you look at the exceptionally creative work of masters, you must not ignore the years of practice and endless routines, the hours of doubt, and the tenacious overcoming of obstacles these people endured. Daily law. Creative energy is the fruit of the master's efforts and nothing else. Do not fall for the romantic myths. Yeah. Yep. Nothing good comes cheap. That's funny. That's been a kind of a reoccurring topic for me. Right? Nothing of quality is cheaply made. And all things that are of quality take a while to create. You know, you could slap something together quickly and it'll work for whatever purpose you might need it for, but it's not going to last. It won't be of quality. And it'll eventually have to be replaced. So if you're going to take something on in terms of a task, or if you're going to bring something into your life in terms of an object, it might as well be quality. Same goes for a person. You know, if you're going to accept people into your life, they should be of quality character. That's for sure. That's what you want to surround yourself by. And ideally, you want to surround yourself by with people who are of higher quality than you. You know, don't have such an ego that, what is that saying? Water, or I think something to the effect that water rises to its own level. When it comes to people, there's another saying. If you're the smartest person in the room, get out of that room. You need to be around people who will help you level up when it comes to your mind and your spirit. I think that's important. All right, maybe we should hit the road. Have a little bit of my drink. This one's carbonated. It's like orange creamsicle, kind of. I have no idea. It tastes like a little creamy. All right, let's do this safely. Let's see what else I got to talk about. Oh, I thought it was interesting. The last episode of Joe Rogan's podcast, he had a guy on there. They were talking about the nature of consciousness the whole time. And I was very, very pleased with the conversation because it hit upon a bunch of different points that I always contemplate, because my mind is always curiously interested in what it is that this whole experience actually is. So I thought that was a great conversation to hear. And the guy, I forget the guy's name, darn it, that he was interviewing. But even he said something that I hesitate to verbalize it because it just sounds so way out, but he said it too. That we actually don't know what this is and where it comes from, and what it does point to some sort of creative entity being the source of all. And he did speculate that this could be, every atom and particle of what this creation is could be a part of the creator experiencing itself. And he said those exact words. I thought that was fantastic to hear. It makes me feel less crazy to hear somebody say something like that, who does have some sort of, at least credentialed background in the field of conscious awareness. That's always good. I'm in good company with a bit of my mental wanderings when it comes to all this. Still trying out the mics. I'm putting it in different spots to see how the audio comes out on the way. So this is a bit of a different little placement of the microphone. Turn it. I'm turning. But yeah, that's always in the back of my mind as I move through my day. I mean, like, really often. My mind will break away from whatever I'm consciously doing here to just wonder about, behind whatever it is I'm doing. What the heck is this thing? Everybody has a guess, but I don't think many people actually take the time to wonder about it. For me, that keeps me grounded, and it keeps me, how do I say that? More in the moment, I guess would be the phrase. I like that's the effect that it's had on me. I'm not so caught up in the irrelevant details of life that I'm forgetting this bigger picture that I'm a part of. It's a humbling feeling. I like that. It kind of keeps my ego in check, which is always a good thing. It just dawned on me. Just side note, completely off topic. I was thinking to myself, man, my car's been warming up a lot quicker these days. When I get in to leave, I normally, warm it up to a certain point before I leave. You're always supposed to. And the last day or so, I was wondering why. Why is it warming up so fast? And it just hit me. The temperature gets not as cold in the morning as it has been. Duh. Your car is going to warm up a little faster than it normally does. So that makes sense. I'm always worried about, this is an older car. I'm always worried about something, happening. So when something changes, I'm, like, okay, what's going on? Is there something wrong that it's warming up faster? Like, no, dummy. It's not as cold outside. But yeah, going back to consciousness, let me see, what was it? The daily law? Nothing comes cheap. Something like that. Oh, and I like that it kind of touched on the topic of there's no shortcuts to like creativity, and kind of mentioned drugs. Because a lot of artists are known for drug abuse. It does loosen up the gears of the mind I understand why they go to it. It's just a quick shortcut to finding that mental ease. So you can start to it makes your mind move a bit different. I get it. But, it does end up taking over your life. So it's like, all right, careful. I get it. A lot of artists' minds move a bit different to begin with. So of course, they're going to be a little bit more open to the exploration of what that mind is about. An external kickstart, let's say. Is prevalent with that type of mind. Oh, and this guy that Joe was talking about too, speaking of the mind, they start talking about caffeine and how caffeine is a natural, how did he put it? Pretty much how I just put it. It's a natural kickstart. Obviously, it's the energy jolt. But he said he went off caffeine for a while. Which I'm thinking of doing, but kind of need it. Especially when I'm working like 7 days a week sometimes. It's kind of necessary. But he said after being off, I forget the amount of time he said he went off caffeine. But he said when he tried it again, like a morning cup of strong coffee, it almost had like a psychedelic effect on him, having not felt the effects of it for a while. Because that's all that really happens with any kind of stimulant or drug or, narcotic, however you want to frame it. Your body builds up a tolerance. So that's why after a while you just end up doing more of it. They call it chasing the dragon. You're just trying to get that feeling back that you first got when you first tried it. Caffeine is not outside of that category. It's the same thing. Well, I thought that was interesting though. He said it had some sort of like psychedelic effect. But really you could reach that state with any kind of practice. There's something called holotropic breathing techniques, where you're doing like these interesting breathing patterns, and what you're really doing is you're hyper oxygenating your brain. And oxygen, lots of it, can really stimulate the brain into a psychedelic state. Not many people know that. Even sensory deprivation. They say like a float tank can really loosen up the brain into the state of a psychedelic experience. Because in a float tank, you're you're depriving all your senses of stimulation. So your mind starts to do other things that it normally doesn't do because it doesn't have to take in all these extra sensory inputs. I think that's pretty interesting. If your mind didn't have to do all these other things, it frees up energy to do other things. And I think that's another reason why they keep us so busy and they keep us so hooked on our phones. It's like it doesn't give your mind any time to just do stuff on its own. Another thing this guy was talking about on Joe Rogan was people don't have. It's rare that people can find a moment to even sit and just think. Just think on your own. See what your mind does on its own. It's kind of what I like to think I'm doing with these videos on the way to work, but really, my mind still has to focus on the drive. But I'm not listening to the radio. And I do start out the drive with like a little, excerpt from my book to kickstart some sort of, gears turning so I can start to talk on the way because I just don't want dead air the whole time. And I like that this book that I'm reading, it's drawing from a lot of material that I have interest in. So it just kind of kicks my mind into movement. So I can just start talking. And I like that podcast that I watched last night had to do with consciousness was from a huge fan of the topic of consciousness because it is endlessly fascinating. A lot of people probably find that boring, but I guess I prefer it that way. The things they find interesting, I have no interest in, so that makes sense. That checks out. Normally I go through my 33 strategies of war just to see if a paragraph jumps out for me to read or go off on in these videos, but I didn't do that today. It just stuck with the daily law. Because in my mind last night, I figured I was going to talk about consciousness anyway. Then I plan on re-listening to that episode. I'm glad I finished it with my woman. Normally I don't like listening to those without her. That's something I like to enjoy with her, is that particular podcast. But since we finished it, I'm going to go back and listen to it. And there's another one I want to re-listen to. I sent it to my buddy. This guy's a mentalist. His name's Oz Perlman. That was a mind-blowing episode. To know that there's people out there that can do the things that Oz Perlman can do. Anybody that happens to hear this video, look up Oz Perlman. Sit back, prepare to have your mind blown. And the best part is what this guy does as a mentalist is a teachable skill. It's something that anybody can learn to do. So if there's any kind of books I can find on that would be an interesting read. Matter of fact, I wonder if he wrote a book. I should look that up. Add that to my rotating list of books that I read over and over again. My woman says I need new material to read, but I just enjoy the things I read so much. I think I have the added benefit, a gift and a curse, that my memory retention isn't always the best. And sometimes when I go back to these books, after I haven't read them for a while, I go back and read it again. It's like all this information is fresh for me again. It doesn't get old. It kind of reignites these little synapses in my brain. Like, oh man, that is so interesting. And I reincorporate that into who I am, if I like it. That's mostly what these books are, is I can use this information to build who I am into a better version of me. That's all I'm really trying to do. Every day I'm trying to be a better version of me. That's why I like, personally for me, that's why I like having my ego knocked down as often as possible. I don't want to have that I'm the man, type of attitude. I've said this a million times. I like the always the student, never the master type mentality. That phrase is always in my mind. Always in the position of the student who is eager to learn. It's another good reason not to surround yourself with people that are exactly like you. If you have nothing to learn from them, and conversely, you have nothing to teach them, and we are all students and teachers in some regard. So I think that's important to widen your circle. I think if you're a younger person too, it's important to put yourself around older people who are a little bit further down the road than you, who have had more life experience than you. Especially if they're accomplished. If they're entrepreneurs, if you can find someone who's found success in their field, it's helpful to be around people like that. I mean, obviously, it's just a suggestion, but you can only benefit from something like that. I think a lot of people surround themselves with either people who are at their level or lower because it gives them that ego boost. I don't prefer people like that who need that ego boost. If that's what you need, then I don't need to be around you. Have more of my drink. Boy, that dude is hauling ass. That's crazy. And he's in a big old pickup. He is eating up gas. He must be late. I hear him as he steps on the gas. That's crazy. Do, 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 do. see what else. I love the slow lane. I feel like a feeling of relaxation once I can get into the slow lane and just cruise. It's like relief. I'm so much different than I used to be. And I've realized that I'm a lot different with my driving now that I have my personal own car that is mine. Because for a while I was borrowing one of my dad's cars, because I just didn't have one of my own yet. And man, well, first of all, it's a little 4-cylinder, so it was easy on gas. But man, my woman's gonna hate hearing this. I was mashing on the gas pedal with that car. I was just hauling ass in that car. Plus, it was so small, it felt like a go-kart. So I'm like weaving in and out of traffic, just making these other cars look like they were just sitting still. And I was definitely not in a slow lane. I was all over the road. I was in every lane, just finding holes to punch through and just moving past everybody as quickly as possible. It was like a game. It was like a video game. So I'm glad I got that out of my system. I definitely do not feel like doing that in this car. And first of all, this car eats up a little bit more gas, so that keeps me from doing it, which I'm glad. But also, this car can really move like way faster than that other little car. Man. Now I've had to step on it, here and there, just to either get away from a car that I don't feel comfortable around, or just. So I've felt how this particular car can move. This is a different thing. But yeah, I feel way more relaxed now that I can just move at a different pace. Feels better in my mind. I wonder how the audio is coming out. I just went to scratch my neck right now, and I felt where like the mic is, like over here on the left side near my collarbone. Bit of a different location. Just wondering how the audio comes out. I'll listen to it when I get to work, just to hear. But so far, I'm pleased with these little mics. I'm at a steady 55 miles an hour behind this truck. This is perfect. I love this. Yeah, even some of these truckers are not interested in going 55 miles an hour. Normally, these are the guys that get paid by the mile. So it benefits them to get where they're going as quickly as possible. But then the downside is they're eating up fuel. So, again, pick your poison. What is it? There's a good saying about that. There is no something, only trade-offs. Like there's only trade-offs in life. But there's a beginning part to that. There are not advantages. There's no shortcuts? I don't remember what it is. But that makes sense when it comes to, the trucking thing I just said. You may get there faster, so it seems like you're making more money because you got paid by the mile, but you're eating up more fuel getting there, so you're putting out more money getting there faster. So, there are only trade-offs. You may think you're coming up in one area by doing a certain thing, but you're falling behind because of whatever it is. Something. There's always trade-offs. That's the point. That was a big yawn. And almost there. Like 2 exits away. Oh, I see an arrow. Let's go ahead and get in front of this truck. Well, I hope all this ends before I get to my exit. Every once in a while, they'll be doing construction out here, and then they'll close off my exit, and I'll have to get off on the next one, and that's a whole thing. Come on, guys. Show me my exit. Yeah. Okay. Good to go. Alright, so I'm coming up on my exit. Let's see, what do I read? Just to close off this video with a contemplative thought. What'd I read? Oh, nothing comes cheap. There's no shortcuts to anything. Yeah, you want to walk the grueling path. Alright, here's a good example. There was this trend for a bit. I'm still sure people are doing it, where people were getting like these injections to make themselves look like they like make them like their muscles look bigger, but all it is like just some weird like oil injection, and really it's another form of body dysmorphia. Like you're trying to cultivate a look by just injecting oil into like these targeted areas of the body that make it look like you have muscles, but you don't actually have the muscles. Right? So true progress and attainment of a goal doesn't come cheap. Right? So they have the look, but they don't have the function of actually having the muscles. That's crazy when I found out people were doing that. Same thing goes for like these people that like have all these wild eating behaviors that just, I feel like anorexics, I guess. fall under this category. Like, they're trying to like really slim down because they need, in their mind, they want to see their body a certain way. But really what you're doing is you're forcing your body to eat away your muscle mass also. So it's like your body's eating itself just so you can be thinner. And really, like, it's a mental thing that they're under the control of. It's not healthy. And nothing comes cheap. It takes effort to attain a quality level of anything. You know, whether it be master level in a task or any kind of physicality you're trying to attain, it takes work, right? So as I get to work, I guess I'll end it on that. You know, just do the work. You know, right? It's not the destination, it's the journey on the way that really yields the results you're looking for. All right. Good work.